Good day, Keith.
Good evening. How you doing, brother? Surviving everything so far?
Things are going good. I heard a gentleman talking about a good way to get your property off the tax roll, your land. And he says the warranty deed, that you can purge that from the system by simply requesting it. And there's no law that allows them to stop you from it. And he said that most places will do it, but some of the counties won't. And he said you file a federal court case if they don't, and you include the state. And if you include the state, they can't throw it out. They must hear it. And as soon as they get ready to do that, that would expose the county too much. He said 100% of the time, they'll let you purge it. So the question is, you were saying that the acknowledge and acceptance of the warranty deed, that I put a dollar stamp on it, or, I can put like 50-cent stamps, like 3 or 4 of them on there if I wanted to put value to it.
It's a matter of you only need, I think the minimum is 2 cents, and qualification of even 1 cent would be enough.
Right.
It's just a matter of showing that there's a transfer of jurisdiction from a currency jurisdiction to a private jurisdiction. And
Okay.
That's what we're looking at.
Okay. And then you sign it on the front. Do you put just your name on the front and then flip it on the back and say, I accept and acknowledge this document? Do you want to put a little language to it?
Well,
date it?
You would use it, you would include it in a series of documents of acceptance. You're going to have a birth certificate to do a banker's acceptance. On that banker's acceptance, you're going to settle all accounts. That's going to be one of the accounts.
Okay.
You're going to make claim to this account on this public record under this warranty deed. You're going to make a claim to that account. That warranty is no longer any good, because now you're going to put what's called absolute title on it.
Right.
That's actually going to purge. That's the actual way to purge it from the system, is to make sure that it can't be re-entered. And that's called an entry document.
Okay. When, you was talking about we were going to do a durable power of attorney, can this be included on that durable power of attorney to cover this?
No, you just do a durable power. The durable power of attorney, in fact, is showing that you're a competent mind and body. Okay. And then from there, you do assignments of attorney to take care of certain affairs.
Okay. So like with the Social Security, I do an assignment there with the Social Security Administration and tell them how to restructure my account, because they're just paying me crumbs, right? Have them give me my full entitlement,
Right. What it is we want to do what's called a acceleration on any bonds that are out there. And what that does is it draws them back in so all accounts can be settled. You don't want them out there. That's in probate still. And that's a matter of commercial. You're going to pull everything to the private. So that means you got to pull everything out of that commercial realm that's in that name. Any bonds are out there, an acceleration to pull them back in, settle all accounts.
Yeah, right. Okay. When do you think you're going to have your durable power of attorney fixed up, drafted, finished?
I've already got one.
Okay.
We can go over it sometime. It's real short and simple.
Okay. I made my own one up in 2018, and I included, rescinding all contracts on it, and, I added a lot of stuff like that, and updated my address to be a non-domestic, those few things. And I got it notarized.
But some basic simples, and everything else can be administered from there.
Okay. When can we go over this durable power of attorney? When would you like to? Have you got a step by step, you got in mind?
Yeah, I've been kind of just, I got it set up where I put out all the information. Now I'm going to go step by step. the last time we talked about the durable power of attorney in fact. And it's just, like I said, it's just a basic setup, acknowledging that you no longer are going to allow anybody else to make decisions for you. You are competent, and that's it. You're making your own self-discretion. And this has to be rebutted. This is the powerful statement that has to be rebutted by somebody that says you are incompetent. The only way they can prove that you're incompetent is that you are obviously insane. They can't do that to reasonable people that know that, hey, there's something wrong here and it's not just me. Just because I'm not intelligent enough according to your commercial aspects and stuff to know your documentation doesn't mean that I am insane. Okay. So we have to realize that they're everything in their commercial realm is based on persons, a secondary capacity of the first capacity of the living man to present himself.
Well, they
And
don't want
then,
to. Yeah, they don't want to recognize the living man. They want to recognize the person.
right, that's exactly right. They can only recognize the living or the person. And so when it comes to the living man, and that's why it's important to learn about that first person, second person, and third person representatives. In regards to patents and copyrights and stuff. Tom Sawyer was written by a man named Samuel Clemens, and he used the pen name Mark Twain, and never once did he have a copyright. He did
And
it
he
under,
did, and he still had the copyright though on it, didn't he? Even though he had the pen name. So when you own a name, you own a name.
absolute. He who creates a thing controls it.
Okay. So the warranty deed, do I need to just wait a little bit before I do an acceptance and acknowledgement on it and then do something in the county? Because I thought I'd record it and put it in the county, but I can hold off on this. And then, I want to purge it out of the system when the time comes. I'm not in a hurry right now because taxes aren't due until September. And so I want to pull it
Now
out.
let's talk about that on the side.
Yeah.
So I want to thank everybody for joining again tonight. Um, we're on a path here to try to set ourselves up in a specific independence of being able to do just that, make up our own minds, be conscionable about our own thoughts, logic, reason, um, and make our own decisions. And in doing so, um, one of the biggest things to realize is this commercial court and everything is all operated, like we've been showing you, under a postal system. It has to be transferred from one place to another first before it can operate in a commercial system. That means it has to have what's known as an entry document. And that's in regards to that warranty we were just talking about. These entry documents, let me get my screen share up. And this is one of the first things we went over in one of the first Zooms, was the instrument of accession. And that's where we're going to take their document, their Constitution of the Universal Postal Union. And it says instrument of accession. Whereas, and then you indicate the name of country, and we're not going to indicate a name of a country. We're going to indicate ourselves. We're going to change in proper grammar. We're going to change some of the verbiage as to who we are. Has not signed, indicate the act not signed at Congress, but wishes to accede to it on the basis in particular of Article 9 of the 8th additional protocol to the Constitution of the Universal Postal Union, adopted at Geneva on 12th of August 2008. And this is where we're acceding to that document But in that document, we're also going to make amendments on this so that when we accede to it, we're acceding to it in freedom of transit. We're not expecting any charges. So it's a matter of to be signed by head of state, head of government, or minister of foreign affairs. And like I said, we're all supposed to minister the word of God. And then under the commercial codes, they administer those words of God by adding prefixes and suffixes, which actually change the terms. In other words, it actually puts a time limitation on it. The word of God is from the beginning, and it's never ending. It's eternal. So when we make our expression of words, there's a time limitation on it, and it shows in our own conversion of the languages throughout time. It's only in use for a certain period of time, then it goes out of use. The word of God, the word of Scripture is always going to be used, the word of truth. And then we see the instrument of ratification or approval, and it shows us that the instrument we're supposed to ratify and approve is the instrument of ratification of the Constitution of the Universal Postal Union. That's what we're ratifying. That's the instrument. Whereas the Constitution of the Universal Postal Union, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th additional protocol to the Constitution of the Universal Postal Union. Now we've got the 10th. So this is going to be updated to the 10th. Was adopted, open for signature, etc. at place on date. Was adopted, open for signature. It's if there's no signature on it, then it's open for signature. And then we put our adoption date on it. When we adopt it, we have to do our line item through it and do our corrections so it's according to our word and not a contract. And whereas the said Constitution of Universal Postal Union has been signed on behalf of the government of name of country on such and such. Has been signed on behalf of and we don't have to put the actual government, we just put the name because that's all we have to clarify is the name. Just like Mark Twain has been signed on behalf of Mark Twain or Samuel Clemens. Now, therefore, I, name and title of the head of state, head of government, or minister of foreign affairs, I, Chaplain Keith, declare that the government of the name of country, that the Keith Orland Little Faith-Based Union, having considered the above mentioned Constitution of the Universal Postal Union, ratifies the same and undertakes faithfully to perform and carry out the stipulations therein contained. And this is why we ratify it ourselves. Ratify the same. See, it doesn't mean we accept it. It means we ratify it. And we send it back for them for approval of our ratifications, our acceptance based on these conditions. This condition here says it's a commercial transaction. I don't perform commercially, so I changed the term to a non-commercial transaction. And they have to accept that. That's an improvement. In witness whereof I have signed this instrument of ratification at place on date. And when I did it, I did ratifications of indico age of majority. Okay, there it is. And notice I put in the search bar indico, INDICO. And through that conversion, because I know better, but through the conversion, that's the first thing they tell you. Spelling change of indico as I was spelling it. I was spelling it in its original form. They changed it to indigo. And most people consider indigo blue powder obtained from certain plants and used as a dye. The color of law is blue. The color of law is admiralty, the blue of the sea, and it's done in ink. Indigo, all from Latin indicum, indicon, blue dye from India. In, dye, a dye as in duality. It was one color, now it's been colored, as in colorable law. Literally, Indian, substance of law. What is the true color of law? Is it the way you colored it with your fancy words? Or is it the way I color it with my truth? Neuter. In other words, the feminine. It's indica or indigo. Indico, like I said earlier, is male. And the genitive neuter feminine is indicos. India versus, or Indian versus India. India is the masculine. Indian is the feminine. Anything in indigo blue comes from the word of the mother. The mother is the ruler of the word by your own observance. So when we ratify it, it's from our own observance to be able to see the truth and do the line item vitro and override it and then put a little initial there. This shows your true capabilities of contracting. And I guarantee you, anybody that rightly knows contracting will see that document and say, oh, we got somebody that knows how to contract. They did the line item veto right on the original document and handed it right back. And that's what we're supposed to be able to do, folks. And notice, this is a simple accession document. But it's very important in this, like I said, ratifies. We have to show our ratification. So we attach the Constitution of the UPU and change the contract terms on it. We change them to natural use of words, taking down the prefixes and suffixes so that we rightly divide the word of truth. When we talk about this stuff, this is that judicial officer electronic filing, the board, Postal Service Board of Contract Appeals, Civilian Board of Contract Appeals. And this is their rules of practice and their Board of Contract Appeals decisions. This is what they operate by. Oops, wrong one. So when we go into the rules of practice, it says rules of practice before the Board of Contract Appeals, Part 955, and rules relative to the implementation of equal access to justice in Postal Service proceedings. Purpose of these rules, right around the equal access, tells you right there, equal access. Called the act in this part provides for the award of attorney fees, and other expenses to eligible individuals and entities who are parties to certain administrative proceedings. If they're trying to force us to be party to their administrative proceedings, then we have the right to expenses. Costs and fees of parties. Costs and fees of parties. Fee simple. The right to put a charge. The right to place a charge. In these rules, called adversary adjudications before the Postal Service. So, who are parties to certain administrative proceedings. They are administrative proceedings, and that is certain. So they are all before the Postal Service. An eligible party may receive an award when it prevails over the Postal Service, telling us that the Postal Service has already promulgated the rules, and now their argument was with the Postal Service and not me. Unless the Postal Service position was substantially justified or special circumstances make an award unjust. So they can't make an award when anybody special steps in. And believe you me, people, you are special because you're not contract party. If you're not a contract party, then you're a special party because they're dragging you into it. All you got to do is describe it, pull yourself out. The rules in this part describe the parties eligible for awards. And again, if you're not party to it, then you're not eligible for an award. Therefore, you can't be considered as a party from which award comes from. See, they can't take your possessions and award them to somebody else, being foreign. They can take possessions of a private associate member and through a grant, award them to another member in that association. But they can't take your property from your own private right and associate it with theirs and say, here, you got to give it to us. That ain't the proper way awards work. They also explain how to apply for awards. And that's why I say we just enter all their false claims into the Board of Contract Appeals. That's how you apply for awards. You're going to subrogate the award they're applying for. And now you get the award. And the procedures and standards that the Postal Service will use to make them. The Postal Service is the one that makes the awards, not Congress. Tells you right here, the Postal Service will use to make them. They also explain how to apply for awards and the procedures and standards that the Postal Service will use to make them. Nowhere else do the awards actually come from. And they are duly noted by stamp. That is a true land warrant. 96.02, when the act applies to any adversary adjudication pending or commenced before the Postal Service. This is why we have to do it. The act applies to any adversary adjudication pending or commenced before the Postal Service on or after we commence it. We take the district court claims, false claims, and commence it as an adjudicatory action by the Postal Service. They're the ones that are supposed to regulate this. Now, I just posted a post on Facebook. Everybody can still see my page. And everything in these courts works on the alter ego. And there is a doctrine known as the alter ego doctrine. And it refers to a rule of law developed by the courts that allows for the obligations of a corporation. Already they admit it's for the obligations of a corporation. Therefore, they have already placed the obligation on a corporation. I am not the corporation. To be treated as those of its shareholders. Not only am I not a corporation, I'm not a shareholder. I don't have any shares that I am holding. Wait a minute. I've got this one, though. And this one has specific obligations of that corporation. The alter ego doctrine disregards the separate legal existence of the corporation and therefore is sometimes described as piercing the corporate veil. So, if I have a certificate of live birth that a corporate entity gave me, it proves that I am a shareholder because I am in fact holding a share of that corporation. And it proves that the obligation is of the corporation. And not until I hold that can that obligation come true. And it is only if the shareholder that holds that share recognizes it that it can truly be implemented. Because only by the shareholder's signature can the consideration of the obligation of the corporation be had for the equal benefit of that which the organization or the corporation is extending. If they expect that benefit for them, they damn well better extend. And remember, they're getting 1/10 is all that they get. That is their consideration for operating commercially is technically only 10%. That means the return of the other 90% is to me. Now you have to have that equal consideration for those capacities. You only get that 10% because you're operating in a fictional fractional capacity. If you want my voucher for it, it would be done this way. Otherwise, I take 100% back and you get none. You will do it by a strict political obligation without pecuniary compensation. Period. That's the rule of the law, people. You are not subject to commerce. Period. It is only the person. And all you have to do is pierce that corporate veil by showing the alter ego doctrine. I recognize the alter ego doctrine. I recognize how you operate in a corporate capacity in civil matters under contract terms and conditions. I hereby take apart the terms and conditions placed upon the original root word. Let's talk about the root words. They can't. They have to have those conditions on them, and that's what destroys all of their cases. Everything is conditional. I'm sorry, I wasn't born in this life based on a condition that my mommy just opened her legs. There were other concepts and other factors that came into play. And along that way, it's a matter of transition every second in life. So once we're born into this world, we are still transitioning, just like we were transitioning in the womb, just like Jeremiah 1 verse 5. We were transitioning long before we were even formed in the belly. He knew us before he even gave us a name. It's always a transition. Nobody can ever say that there is a standing point in time. That's the fallacy. Everybody thinks things have a standing point in time when there isn't one. It's ever changing. This proves the fallacy of their time concept. I could never be in probate if I'm standing face to face somebody in a court. It could never be a matter of probate. The living legacy heir has showed up. I'll be damned. He just fucked up all of our laws. They're never going to admit that. You have to recognize it. You have to recognize that alter ego. Until you do, they know about it. It's a doctrine. It's a well-known doctrine in their system. And with that, I'm going to open the board. I'm going to drop this. I don't know if it's going to give me a link to this one. Yeah, it's not giving me. A lot of times it'll tell you can copy the link. It's not. They're shadow banning certain people. And one of the things they do is they prevent you from being able to copy the link to bring people to the page. And I can't post this all in the comments section. So I will link it in the comments on the video when I put the video out. In the meantime, there showed up my I don't know what that happened. There showed up my end of time thing here. So I've got to open the board. Any questions, comments, concerns, complaints are welcome. Like I said, I don't know it all, but what I see is telling me a straight path forward. Do not put up with their commercial bullshit in any sense. Always ask questions.
What you just said, you announcing the living or the dead?
You're announcing you recognize that there's an alter ego, and that's the only thing their system can operate on is that alteration. You are the original form. It is the alteration.
The ghost, right?
Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It should. It's really reasonable and logical. And what I'm going to do here, oh, yes, SSA 8. Remember that, Malika? We come across that in the Zoom earlier today, and that's the one for the application for lump sum death payment. And so when we recognize that alter ego is the decedent, and we're going to withdraw from that probate system. So now we want all of that paid in a lump sum. So we're no longer operating in that fraud. We're no longer going to let that fraud convince anybody else. We're going to remove it.
I'm going to need to make sure that that's what they got. That's what Joe got in his case. Because if that's really the form he got, that's insane.
Yeah, because if that's what they're filling out, imagine the implications of that.
Crazy.
Yeah, and that's through that damn power of attorney, That's why, that durable power of attorney, in fact, is a strong statement, but it doesn't have to be long. It's just a short statement that you recognize your competency now. You're a sound mind and body, and you're going to start taking care of your affairs. Ain't nobody got any say so about it, because you're going to question everything. And then
so let me ask you a question. Is the durable power of attorney the same as a revocable power of attorney? Are those two different things?
No, durable power of attorney is your set fact that you recognize your age and majority, who you are, your competency from here on out. No questions about it in all matters. And then you get to the revocable powers and stuff like that. Those are assignments from the guy that has the durable power. He has power of attorneys over everything, whether you want to call it revocable power, statutory power, specific power, general power, whatever. It's durable throughout all realms.
May I, Keith?
Yes, please.
So I was doing some research on the customs, moving customs through the Postal Service. And I came across one thing that I thought you might be interested in, and it's the validation code. It happens to be a 6-digit code when one is first registered. Mm-hmm. I know you were looking for 6 numbers.
Yeah.
And there's a way to unsubscribe from that first registration.
Yeah, that's Customs and Border Protection. They're the ones that subscribe to that. That's where that 6-digit number comes from.
Okay, so you found that already. Okay, cool.
Well, and then I haven't found it, but I know I've found information that tells me that's where it comes from.
Right. Okay. So that's the
Yeah.
that's the interesting part. I found where it is and how you can unsubscribe from it.
Cool.
If that's what you want to do. But then the other thing that you were talking about is the whole, when I was going through the UCC code a little bit ago, is the present sale. The present sale is based on future sales, right? Where unless one is actually identified, then those future sales can't happen. And so I think part of this ratification is, you know how like with the department, I think it's the Department of Justice and these other organizations, where that's where the proof of life comes in,
Right.
along with a durable attorney. Mhm.
Right. You're gonna shut down all the commercial stuff unless you're actually qualified as a securities broker. No other
Customs.
reason should anybody be touching any of those documents and signing them. That is
Right.
securitization and it is brokering. And so you should be shutting down. Yeah,
I think that
and that's what I told him about my companion. And she wasn't actually supposed to be operating as a securities operator, but once she retired, I let him know that she is retired. That means she's no longer even capable of transferring any obligations of the United States, obligations or other securities. She's no longer required, nor can she be compelled to.
well, and so that's one of the things that I was reading about, is how in order to actually be able to do any, like, you know how people are trying to move property from the public into the private, and how they keep running into issues, is that because in order to actually be able to do that within their system, that whole electronic, you have to have their software, because they track it. And then the other part is that you have to, one has to actually get the actual authorization
Right. And
through
that's why I was talking about the NIAX codes and stuff in that one Zoom.
right.
That's
Well,
what they're operating on.
so I was thinking what I would do, not just the codes, but there's I found an actual office. So I can't link with my phone and do and talk or do the Zoom. So I'm gonna send you a link to that so that you can check it out, because I think that
Okay.
that's gonna be the important part after the reversionary interest of the usufruct going back out, that 10%, and then the rest being put back into the estate. I think
Right.
that this number actually, you know, this authorization needs to happen so that we're not acting in the trustee position.
Right. And that's what it's all about, folks, is the reversion. That's the final effect, is being able to revert back to what's known as a credit system. Because my word is my bond. And just like it used to be in the old day, hey Bob, would you put that on my tab? I'll be glad to, bring in that bag of apples at the end of the week, whatever. Today in the commercial paper, it's a matter of promises. And if somebody doesn't hold up by a promise because of some act that was unforeseeable, they're held to it in a time stamp. And that's the problem with this fictional system. It has to happen within a certain time. You have to make that promise. Sometimes nature doesn't allow for that. And that's our natural inherent capabilities of being able to say, well, I wasn't able to make it this week, so how about I just give you some extra apples next week? But it's an act of free will according to what we are naturally capable of doing to begin with. So if we can't come back the next week with double supply, we can come back and say, well, I don't have any way to do it. What are you going to do? Take it out of my ass? And that's why we have to get away from putting everything on paper and making it a paper thing. That's not where your heart belongs. Your heart belongs here, and it's expressed this way, not by writing it down and making sure the other guy follows your word. That's the fallacy of it. It's not your word. If you're trying to make somebody abide by your word, you don't know where your word comes from. You've been babbled.
Arrogance.
Yep. That's why I step down. There's a lot of people who think I know a lot, and I don't. I just ask a lot of damn questions now, because I'll not be fooled again. Nope, not going to let it happen.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yep. Yes, there you go. Cancellation occurs when either party puts an end to the contract for breach by the other, and its effect is the same as that of termination, except that the canceling party may also retain, or party also retains any remedy for breach of the whole contract or any unperformed balance. And that's why we do that acceleration and call them all them bonds back in that are out in probate and accelerate them so we can get that balance that's out there and remove it. That's going to come with us. It's no longer going to be used for profit for other people. Done. And it's going from commercial fiat currency to a credit transition. And that's it. It's just credits. And with that, we're done, folks. Thanks for joining me. God bless. Love y'all. We'll see you again tomorrow night. Same bat time, same crazy channel.
Love you,
Peace.
bro.